Let's just do it. All right. Open up notebook. I said I grabbed. So this week let's go over just our progress, and then I also want to plan some hard deadlines for design work to be done. And then we're gonna plan this week's goals, and then like go over any questions, issues, and anything new from the dev side. So just starting out, Sabian, do you have anything from, or Sabian and Will really, do you guys have anything from the dev side that has changed at all, or anything like that we should know about?
No, I think we're fine.
You guys good? Okay, cool. We can start going over progress in our pages and stuff. So does everyone have Figma up?
Yep.
Yay! Okay. I could just go in order and put Fardine in the spot. Oh, look, there's like 5 little things on us. All right, so Fardine, do you want to
Yeah.
start us off and start talking about your progress from this week?
Yeah, sure. Not much, to be honest, just because I had my exam yesterday and my brain's been fried this whole week from studying. But I did kind of wrap up landing for desktop. I just have to convert it for mobile, really. Um, uh, Daniel and I went over some basic design stuff. We've changed the spacing to 6 pixels. It's on the Notion, I believe. So everything is in increments of 6 now in terms of spacing and padding. There's some few things I have to change up, but for the most part, everything is spaced like that. Stuck with everything else because everyone sounded off on the community features, the testimonials. Didn't change much there. The only thing I did change was the color of the button. Right now, it's a different color from before, and something to note if you've used that color in your designs as well, just because the old one wasn't passing web accessibility, whereas this one just passes it for graphical accessibility. So that's something to note for the design folks. That section after the hero was the biggest change. So the two versions, at least in my head, that I thought might be appropriate to go with is looking at the first one on the left. I was thinking we could do a short continuation from the hero with another one-liner and a prompt based on the type of people that join oneleif. And I created some basic cards for that to list either the roles that we have in oneleif, the kind of people that do join in, whether they're designers, developers, or it could even be projects that we list in the cards. The biggest thing was the inclusion of the cards themselves, because I know we were playing around with having cards in our design system. So I thought this might be a good way to put them in case we want to continue with using cards. But this would be just some sort of listing, whether it's projects that we're working on, to kind of give a quick overview. I think it works better with describing the type of people that join. So, for example, card 1 could be like designer, card 2 could be developer. This is what a designer in oneleif looks like. A quick description. Learn more about it. Or if you're a developer and you want to learn, blah blah blah, follow this card. The second version of it is keeping it minimal. We could just do a text filler, so have a question that leads into the community features. For example, something like, why would you want to join oneleif, or what can oneleif do for you? Like, these are just some examples from the top of my head, but it acts as a segue to the next parts of the page itself. Everything else is pretty standard. Nothing much changed. Changed partner copy to supporters instead, because I felt like that was a bit more friendly, but that's just copy itself. Nothing else from a design perspective. I just have to convert it to mobile, which is just compressing it, but that's it.
Great. Okay. One sec. Let me zoom in. Join our Discord. Okay.
Oh yes, that too. So the email's gone and it's Discord now.
Okay. Which I think for now, like V1, that probably fits our model more of how we work. Is just through Discord.
Yeah.
Okay. So one-liner stuff versus, or quote versus these kind of cards. I think these cards could be very effective, especially at showing like our diversity of roles. Um, would these boxes potentially grow based on the amount of copy in them, or is it just kind of like a preview and then you
Uh,
click learn more?
it would be both. So
Okay.
definitely scalable,
Okay.
but it would also be a preview. I think we would have to build separate pages based on whatever we are describing, whether that's roles or something else.
Mhm.
Which
And then yeah,
I
go ahead.
think I was going to say, I think there's merit to that. So having people learn about what designers do at OneLeaf or what people who want to learn more about data science do at OneLeaf. I think having that kind of guided documentation on a separate page is definitely helpful.
Gotcha. Um, so my only thing with the cards on the left-hand side is there's a lot of extra white space on the sides, and I feel like 3 cards might be able to fit.
Oh yeah. So these are
Yeah,
just
kind of placeholding for now.
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Oh
I
no,
could
what
just
happened to the left side or the right side?
I think you might have dragged out.
No.
It's all
Could it
right.
be
Just
There you
yeah.
go.
cards that like you're able to kind of swipe through or carousel through, where like the one in the middle is like bigger than the other two?
Carousels. I'm personally averse to them just because they are very distracting and they don't necessarily hold up well with engagement.
Mm.
There's very little click through sometimes on carousels, especially if there's important content in uh, parts of the carousel that aren't displayed. Some people might just scroll past them. Um,
That makes sense.
we could do some sort of animated carousel that just rotates
We
without
right now we have one
interaction.
that automatically uh, moves on an interval.
Yeah, so
Mm.
something like that could potentially work, but I
But
feel
even
like
people
that
would just scroll through it. That's what I
right.
do, at least, I guess.
Um, for me, it's like an option B kind of thing, where if we can go without the carousel, I personally think it's better to go without it. But if there is consensus across the team, then that's totally fine too. We can definitely it's adaptable to both systems.
Mm-hmm. I saw this as like just being like static. Um, Carousel could be effective. Um, but because these are just kind of descriptive, I could this being like just a static thing is fine, and especially for V1, but also we don't want it like too messy and busy,
Yeah,
especially
Yeah.
because we're gonna have like other images on this page, and so far our overall look is very clean.
Mhm.
So kind of just keeping that in mind.
Yeah, and since other parts of our site aren't necessarily animated, it kind of feels odd if one specific part
Mm-hmm.
is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's pretty much it. I just have to convert it for mobile, and it should be good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do something kind of funny
yeah, go for it. We could also definitely fill it in with my. Uh,
because we're one leaf.
good catch with micro illustrations. So there
That'd be
is a
nice.
lot of white space, but you can have small like vectors popping out of the copy, um, kind of like, for example, like something like this. Let me.
We can change that back. I just thought it was a funny opportunity.
Something like this. Oh, it's too small, but if you can zoom in, like we can have small illustrations popping out of it, and not just the big ones where the placeholder images are. If it
Oh.
feels too empty, um, Daniel and I are resting on the placeholders just because we don't know what the exact copy is yet, and whatever illustrations are made are going to be based on the copy.
I think it might be that time where we have to start inviting, or she might already be invited to Tina to these meetings, just
Yeah,
so we get that input from someone who's writing.
yeah,
So I'm gonna jot that down for kind of like a next week goal.
yeah. It just needs the copy and the sign off from the rest of the team, and I think the landing should be shippable.
Hey, Sabian, do you want me to take care of conversations with Tina, or do you want to do that? Because I feel like you've been doing more of that, but
I kind of got the ideas down that I had, and since you're
Mhm.
the designer, it might make more sense for you to do that actually. Because you guys will know like how much text will fit where and whatnot, I guess. Whereas I wouldn't know that well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to go. I mean, I'll still help write the copy. I just don't know. I wouldn't lead the picking of the final wording and whatnot to make it fit.
Well, we don't need the exact copy itself. Just even knowing what topic is being covered in each of those sections is enough for Daniel to go off of something.
Oh, okay,
Good
Yeah.
point.
that's fair.
So
Yeah.
if he knows what feature 1 is, what feature 2 is, or what the tagline might be about, I think he can get started.
I think between these two, I'm more drawn to the right one, because it's just like very clean. But if we do, I feel like, and also like on B1, that's not a ton of, like, if we don't have a ton of information to put here, that's the easy way to go about it. But I could also see the first version of this being really effective too. Especially like if we have enough information and we want to really drive people to join oneleif and we see it as an effective way to do that, then I think the left side could also be a good option too. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the right one as well because I feel like with the one on the left, while it's great having the description and all, it then means we have to create pages for wherever these would lead to. Unless
Right.
if we're linking to like somewhere else that we already have. I don't know what the timeline is for this right now actually is, but it just seems like
More work.
extra
Yeah.
for something that, especially for like V1, if it's just like a one-liner, we do have like a lot of descriptions below it as well anyway.
Right.
So we definitely have space to explain whatever we want to say here down here too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I agree that it adds to the scope quite considerably, depending on what we put in there. So if that's if we're all agreed on the interest of timeline, people prefer the right, we can definitely go with that one too. The right
any
one
other
would.
thoughts? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say that there's quite a bit of white space, so I'd probably be working with Daniel to fill it in with again those micro illustrations.
We could just leave the learn more links out until we have a design for those pages. I'm assuming they're just going to follow the same, like it'll be like the same as a post or an active project, maybe.
Yeah. Another way to tackle that is going off of Daniel's 404 page. We can have an under construction page.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, we could.
Like, would the learn more link lead to that?
For now, until we get those pages going, possibly, yeah.
If it was
Is
something you
that-
didn't want to script it right now, I'd say just don't even have a learn more.
Yeah, because I feel like that might just be a bad user experience. Like, oh, I'm gonna click on this and like
it doesn't work. Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just take away the functionality altogether and just have what we need to have on those cards, or even with these community features.
Right. Yeah. No, that works.
And like again, back to like the whole user experience, it feels like very incomplete. So if I was someone who wants to really learn what oneleif is about, I'd click in and be like, oh, this is not working yet. I click another one, oh, that's not working yet. What's
Right.
going on?
Right. In that case, because it does cut down the interactivity of the site quite a bit, assuming that the bottom footer is also going to be somewhat barren because those pages aren't done, would it make sense to have another replication of the join Discord button at the bottom so that people who do scroll to the bottom don't have to necessarily scroll back up to click on something?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
Like inside the footer or part of the main site?
like over here somewhere.
Or get it sticky.
Like in the bottom, after all the features.
Yeah, so we could do it at the bottom somewhere and make a slot for it.
Okay.
But just because otherwise it's going to be pretty barren, given that the nav tab is not going to have any active links, the footer's not going to have any active links, and or at least not as many, and the descriptors are going to be linkless as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that statement. And yeah, as you said, if you scroll all the way down, a way to get there, because it's like, oh, I learned about it. Now how do I join it or whatever?
Mhm.
That makes perfect sense to me. So
Okay, yeah, I can add that in. I'll add it as a comment.
yeah, go ahead. All right. Anything else for Dean's progress on this part? I know you worked on the design system too. Let's try to maybe we'll do that after we go through everyone's just Figma stuff, just because we're all here.
Yeah.
And then we can look at Notion. Okay. One sec. Turning a page in Notebook. I'm one of those write everything down, otherwise forget things person. So bear with me. All right. Perfect. We can move on to what I've been doing. I'll get rid of some of these rulers. I'm that ruler person. I always have to have like a ton, otherwise it's like not happening for me.
Oh, that is a lot of rulers.
I know. You have no idea. And the bad part is I will not get rid of them until like I absolutely need to. It's really bad. Okay. All right. So let's see. We've already seen these first few.
Mhm.
Which that's old. Why is that there? Sorry, fam. Okay. These first few, which those are staying the same. Might need to add a photo to the top of this page. That's something I need to do personally. But let's move down to these other mobile mock-ups. So last week we looked at this one, which was very crowded and squished and blah. So this week I created these two. They are basically the same. The only difference here is that like this one, GitHub link or something, uses a little arrow, which I was having a tough time sizing that arrow, but and then this one uses just like an icon. But basically, you got active projects and then like the actual name of the thing is bolded. That could change. I'm open to feedback on that. And then these tags and then some description. Um, and then a link and then the members at the bottom. And then I'm thinking these are clickable items.
Yeah, take you to their profile view.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. How would we? So like, some of these projects gonna have more than 3 people. Is that gonna be scrollable, or is it gonna be like, of course, the project manager? And
Oh,
like,
yeah, this is scrollable, and I also forgot to add this little iPhone thing at the bottom, and I also have it mocked up a view of like when you're scrolling, because it's going to be similar to this second mock-up I have at the top with the how it pops up the title of the page. That kind of functionality will happen with like this kind of page too. I just haven't mocked it up yet.
hey Sabian, do we store the GitHub like information in the social, like their username or something? Because I'm trying to figure out how we would keep track of active project members, unless you were like able to go in your profile and then add projects you've been working on for now, and then because I'm trying to think of how we would know who to display under that.
We can use the GitHub API and grab the collaborators off of the project.
Okay. I mean, that's version 2.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think ahead. Not
No, you're
right
fine.
now. Right now, it's static.
Oh yeah, good question.
So any sort of feedback for these pages? I know they're still a little rough.
The tags, probably more padding, but then again, the design guide hasn't been finalized, so it's more of a future task than what you could have done. But I think since we're going with 6, I've been using 24 for the padding. I don't know if you'd want to use the same for the tags themselves, but something along the lines of a 6 derivative.
Yeah, that's helpful. I have sort of started to clean up my things like that, but like again, I didn't check Notion this week, so
No, that's
it's
that's
like
totally fine. That's what I meant. Like we
That's
just
helpful.
literally Daniel just put it in last night, so I had no
Oh.
expectation for anyone to
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Do we need the title of project members or like Swift UI Kit members? Do we need that title, or is it obvious that like seeing a list of people on a project page,
I
is it
think
obvious to know that those people are related?
I don't think it's I think project members would be helpful.
Okay.
I wait, sorry, what was?
What was the question?
Sorry,
Yeah, I'm confused as well.
Oh, sorry. Is the title of project members or like some sort of title they could rename? Like, so for this one is
Oh,
Swift
for
UI
this.
Kit.
Okay,
Is,
right.
yeah, I'll click on it. This guy, yep. Is
Yeah,
that guy
okay.
needed? Or is it clear that all of these things of people relate to this project?
I think it should be there just because
Okay.
you
Good
want to
call.
avoid that confusion rather than
Yeah.
have it. But that's just me. One thing to also consider, sorry for moving the subject just before I forget, is what if the project name is considerably longer than it is right now?
Dot.
I thought we were gonna have the active projects. Would we put the dot there? Ellipse? What is it called?
Yeah, it's called ellipse.
Ellipses.
Ellipses.
Would it?
What? Sorry.
Because
what?
we'd want the project name to be viewable over active projects on the breadcrumb.
So we're not doing any wrapping then.
We could,
Oh, that looks weird.
but what if we had a dot like
Going up a directory.
yeah, like that's the parent directory.
As long as it's highlighted so it looks like it's clickable.
This
Can
could
we
get smaller
make
if
the
it got a
image
giant title.
smaller and give it some more space?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Well, the thing is, when they scroll down, doesn't that pop up into the nav bar?
This Swift UI Kit title would pop up in the
Oh,
nav
okay,
bar.
okay, cool.
So that's the page you're on. So couple just like thoughts off the top of my head. We could make it the title smaller based on how long the titles are. I don't know about that one. We
That'd be
could
a
just not put this active projects part in here. Or just like the title in general could be smaller. I can do that too. It is a little big.
Or you could do some sort of natural hierarchy too. So you could have active projects as the bigger heading on top, and then have this as like a subheading underneath.
Yeah,
know,
I was just gonna do
playing
that.
around something like that, or some variation of that. That could be a way to buy you some vertical space instead of because we're obviously dealing with a horizontal compression problem here.
This is on mobile.
Yeah, I feel like on desktop this is probably all right. Because
Yeah.
you have more real estate, but yeah, mobile might need to be something like that. Good call. I like that. It's more effective and horizontal. You can, I mean, not horizontal. Mobile, you can keep scrolling forever. So.
Would this be a placeholder or some sort of image of the project?
That is the project image. So that's the one Zach made for this.
Something to think about as well is how important an image would be to communicate what a project does, especially if it's an in-progress project. Like, what if you have no designs and it's an entirely coded project, right? What would go in there, and is it worth that much real estate versus like the description, which would be more informative than any image, right?
Yeah.
That's something that popped into my head too. That might be a problem, or at least not warrant as big of an image size. Like, I still think there should be something there, but I don't know if it's worth having something so big.
Okay, so that warrants the question, like, should we just do more of cards on the just active projects page, or are the images more like visual and like interesting to look at versus like looking at a ton of like text cards?
I don't remember, but I vaguely remember seeing like a list of different types of projects that we would have. It was only a set number. I just don't remember where I saw the list. But if there is a set number, and say if a project doesn't currently have an image, can we have like assigned images, like placeholder
Oh,
image?
we do.
Or we
We
do,
do
right?
that. So if you scroll over to the desktop-y stuff, this grayed out image of the leaf is what Daniel created for that.
Mm.
That's like the default, like I don't have an image.
Or could we go a step further and if there is no screens for it, could we just have an option to withdraw the image completely, like not necessarily have it? Because it wouldn't be as relevant. There's no purpose to putting even a placeholder. Right? Like it's not going to be interactive. It's not descriptive. It's not informative. It's just there. So
Consistency for visual. That's about the only thing I could think of.
It does go for visual, but I feel like if there is an image, it should be smaller since like it's kind of like you said, it's a placeholder. Like it's the logo for Swift UI Kit, not really an informative thing, but it takes all your eyes to it.
yeah, that
I
might make
guess-
more sense too.
I guess my question was like, I think again, like I don't remember where this list was, but I think like there's different kinds of projects we could potentially have. So one would be like strictly design, maybe. One is probably just coding, while another one's like a mix. So maybe like there'd be some kind of placeholder image for strictly like coding types of projects, and then one that's like an image strictly for like design kind of projects, and then a different image that would be for like a mix of like both. Like, does anyone get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
no.
So it's not always like the same like placeholder image, and when you scroll through, it's going to be all the same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we could even go a step further and assume that if we can get to a point of making illustrations, we could even have like a placeholder. I don't know if we've named the mascot yet, but that mascot that Daniel designed, like coding for coding projects. Or
He's our fanny pack bean.
I am doodling something right now, and I'm gonna share it in a second. It's like very much rough, but I have an idea and I need to share it. Otherwise, I'll explode. One sec. All right, so taking a picture, and it's a mobile view for this page. Keeping in mind that project image might not be the most necessary item to look at on this page. Okay, Discord, oneleif website. There it is. Posting. And did it send? That's Swift UI. There we go. Okay, does everyone see that?
mm-hmm.
Okay, I can talk about this. So as we were talking, I kind of just thought of something different. I realized I didn't put the words active projects in this, but that can be discussed at something else. Okay. Anyways, the top image, right before the Swift UI Kit text would be just like that logo, whatever. And then right after that could be like description, tags, basically all the information that was already on the page. It's just like instead of a giant image, it's a smaller image that's like centered. And then you have the active project itself somewhere near that. How do we feel about like this view instead? Is that more effective versus like what I've mocked up elsewhere?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. Essentially, for me, I think just trying to think in the shoes of someone possibly looking at a project and wanting to learn more. For me, I'd want to know what it's about, who's working on it, and how do I contribute. And this serves that purpose of including that contribution part, which we're missing in the architecture and presentation of information right now. So we can
Mhm.
suddenly put that element in on how do you join this project, or what are we looking for, what do we require, who's the right fit, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm just trying to think of that as the frame for what this real estate is actually going to go towards.
Mhm. Any other thoughts?
Nah, I think Fardian's on the right track.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do we have a preference between the arrow versus like the link icon?
I prefer the
this?
arrow. I just think it looks nicer personally.
Okay.
But
No, I think that's
I don't know,
valid.
like, if the link makes it seem more intuitive.
I feel like calling it GitHub link is kind of redundant.
Oh, that's just like dummy text. I don't know what to put there, so that's what's been put.
I feel like this is
Thank
not
you.
direct in telling people what to do or where it goes to.
True.
Yeah, I like the arrow.
All right,
Yeah.
we're sticking with arrow. Arrow, please. Wrote that down. All right, so switching over to what's it called? Desktop. Oh, hey, I don't need you anymore. So I kind of toyed with like taking what Fardine's stuff looked like and putting it in active projects page type thing. So I guess this big guy is better. This is sorry, I'm the messiest person, I swear to God. So something up here, the title, whatever. I don't think the sign up stuff would be here necessarily. Maybe the Discord link like you have now. Some sort of image, and then just like a grid of like all the projects. I didn't include like a next page thing at the bottom here, just because we don't have that many projects. If we got a ton of projects, that'd be something to include.
Would you want it to be a paginator or an infinite scroll?
Probably infinite,
That's
in
cool.
my
Based
opinion.
off our like how the landing page looked, I think infinite would be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially
Okay, cool.
because adding more nav pages adds more friction.
Mhm.
Plus, paginate is just a pain in the ass.
Okay, writing things down. Sorry. Infinite scroll. Cool. Other than that, nothing has really changed that much. I did make even though it doesn't quite look like it, I did make these bigger. This text can be bigger too, especially because I haven't checked out the design system yet because it's literally just been made. I can change that as well.
So what would be
Go ahead.
clickable on this view? Like if I just click the picture, it would take me to the active project, the title, or like the whole thing all together.
Yeah.
Good call. I was thinking picture, maybe text too. Yeah, I feel as we're talking, I'm just like, oh man, I put too much emphasis on the pictures because they're pretty.
We don't
So I
necessarily
could
need to.
change the view of it to where it's more
It's like a
cardy
card.
somehow.
So you can click anywhere on the
Um,
card.
If you want to keep it minimal, we could also do hover text pop up. So if you go over it, there's this short descriptor, but I don't know how well they'll do with the background image itself because contrasting would be
mhm.
So,
terrible based on whatever image is behind. But
as just an idea here, I'm kind of thinking the whole. So, yeah, the images could be smaller, then we could put some text there. Like just
Mhm.
like the something 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 dot 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 like
Mhm.
most like news sites do.
Mhm.
So the tags themselves, if you click on them, will probably take you to the search page and search for that tag, right?
V2.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
V2 is
But I'm
fine.
just thinking like for
V2
designing
would
it for
be
now.
clickable as a V1
Got it. So I was just thinking
tags.
to prevent rework in the future, basically have the image, the title, and the description all in the card, and then have the tags below it. So that way, anywhere on the card is clickable to take you to it.
like
feel like
even clicking on the card itself, not any text or link. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so like if I were to select this guy, like basically anything but the tags, like it would all be wrapped in like I don't know. I like how it doesn't have a border, but at the same time,
Mhm.
it just yeah.
So let's see if we can get the card going super fast.
Yeah, I'm doodling something too.
This just
It's one of
doesn't.
those days.
This just doesn't
One of those
natively
days.
say to me or intuitively say to me that these are clickable. I guess, other than the tags.
One sec, I'm doodling.
Unless like you had a link at like the top right or like under the tabs that would like, but then it would just look repetitive on each card
Agreed.
and more fast.
Farden, you get the point here, and then the tags would kind of be separate, and this thing would have some sort of border.
So you wouldn't want the tabs on the card at all? Tags?
Or maybe just like a separator in between. I don't know.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Okay.
I like how we don't
Card-
have borders.
like it
I think
would.
this is even rougher than what I just drew, but bear with me. Sending.
I think Farden's on the right track here, though.
Mm-hmm.
We probably are doing literally like the same thing.
He's
Yeah.
doing it off to the right.
Oh, mine was more lengthy. Kind of like
Okay.
a news website. So
Yeah,
I
this
know
is
it looks mobile, but that's desktop, I swear to God. The top is the synav. Ignore the lines. It's just I didn't feel like spacing things properly. Active projects title at the top with some sort of placeholder images on the right hand side. Is everyone looking at it or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then listed out is all the active projects in a more horizontally pattern, so more listy and
So
less
something
lengthy.
like this, for example. I'm gonna paste it. This is
Okay.
from another workspace. Something like this.
That kinda, yeah. Except I still want to see a little bit of image on the left hand side. But other than that, yes. That's a little bit full.
Yes.
That's a little bit busy. I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't include tags if we were to go this route. I would just have like title, a little bit of description, and then a link to say like find out. I don't know, some sort of link on it. Thoughts. This is nice too, though.
So I would see that card on desktop, I think, and then Susie's way would be mobile.
Yeah. So I agree with Will. That list makes sense for mobile, but grid would make more sense for desktop because you'd want them to see as many projects and be able to navigate quickly and seamlessly. I think having it list on desktop is gonna slow them down considerably.
This is like trashly made. But something like that. Ignoring the lack of everything properly done. Interesting. We view this as more mobile.
Mhm.
Weird. That's so weird.
Well, because you're horizontally again.
Of course, I make the mobile one first. That's how I roll.
Especially with how it seems most of our pages are going for, the card would make more sense just with the vertical scroll. Like it takes your attention vertically.
Yeah.
Should we do the listy thing on? Ooh, gross. This should be a square. Okay. Should we do the list view, on both mobile and desktop, and just like have them look very, very similar, or the card kind of thing on desktop and this more on mobile?
Well, the problem with list is again, it's number of artifacts that one person can view at any given moment,
and we
right?
don't have as much.
Yeah. So
okay.
Let's say
that makes sense.
Go
on
ahead. Sorry.
responsiveness, from like a responsiveness viewpoint, like with the desktop being brought small, it would look kind of weird going from a card to a list, right? Or is that not an issue?
Well, for me, I'm just thinking about it in terms of objects presented, because if you do look at it as a list and assume, heck, even if we get to like, let's say even 10 projects, right? That would be quite a bit of scrolling and quite a bit of space dedicated to each row versus having a grid where we can present up to 9 on just one
That's a fair point.
instance, right?
And then on mobile, it would look like your active projects view over here for mobile, where you bring the card in closer.
Yeah.
Like it would just stack like a flex wrap rather than going like changing the whole UI to lists.
Okay.
can-
I agree with the card thing. I could mock up both if you guys want, but I'm seeing the beauty of the card as an option.
With the list, it might start to look kind of weird if the descriptions are either like really short compared to the ones that are like super long. It's gonna be like a lot of white space, I feel like.
Yeah, that's another good.
Okay. Good call. So yeah, I think for next week, which we haven't even mentioned next week really, I'll focus on this card type thing for sure. Just because that's a good point. Like I was like, yeah, images. I love images. Like, is that the most important thing? That is the question. So, thanks
Yeah,
for
we're
that
just
help,
not that
guys.
busy right now. Can anybody else not hear anything right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I blocked out. I'm good. Well, let's move on to Priscilla's, and unless if we have any more thoughts on this.
Nope.
Nope. I think we
Alright.
covered everything.
You want to know what these images are going to be that are placeholders right now? Do we have any ideas for
Yeah. Pictures of cats.
cats? That works for me.
I mean, just use Daniel's. It'll be like.
All right, we got cats and dogs. Anyone have anything to top that?
Corgis.
I think that falls under dogs.
Just more specialized.
If you're Sabian, it's not the same thing. All right. Let's have Priscilla go because Daniel's not here, and we can cover Daniel and Raya's stuff after. So you are doing.
This little guy is so freaking cute.
I love Mr. Bean with the funny
Mr.
hat.
Bean.
I was referring to him as Leafy in my head, but I guess that.
Leafy!
But that handle is taken already.
Yeah.
Unless you want to rebrand, that's
One bean.
We give him a sombrero and call him Senor Leaf.
Uno Leaf. Uno Leafo. That's bad. We'll cover this one.
Farting, I have my thing set to follow you, and you're just sitting here zooming in and zooming out.
Oh, sorry. No, it's a force of habit. Like I just go in to see some of the pixelated elements, and that's literally all I do sometimes on some screens.
I apologize to everybody that has to watch this and gets motion sickness.
So Priscilla, kind of walk us through what you've been working on.
So as you can see, like I kind of changed up the nav as well because I realized we actually have a lot of like different social media links. I wasn't sure which one you guys wanted to include and not include.
Yep.
So I just threw everything in there and kind of organized it in a way where it's not too messy and cluttered.
I'm gonna copy this to landing, but I just hijacked the color and changed it to 2.6. If you saw me playing around with it, but I like it.
Yeah. And then yeah, I removed that original leaf and Mr. Beanie's over there.
Oh no, what did I do?
Updated the email. I rounded the corners of the input fields a little bit, not too much, because I didn't want it to look like super rounded, I guess. Added the labels on the top, rounded that button as well, and then I played around with mobile too. And yeah, that's more or less it. So this one would be the form, and then this one would be without the form and just the contact info. What else? What else? Oh yeah, and then for the nav for mobile, I wasn't sure what format anybody would want, so I just have two versions of what I thought it could look like. What else? I think that's more or less it. If you scroll down, as we mentioned before in the active project, would the contact us go up here too?
Yes.
Whoosh. Okay. Okay, so that's fine.
If there's enough to scroll down on.
I mean, you have a
Looks like
whole.
there
Oh, I
already
didn't see. Oh, I just saw the bottom. Sorry.
Yeah. So like this is how it would look like before you start scrolling, and then this is what you see if you keep scrolling.
Got it.
I also had no idea what sizes and all of that, so I kind of just made it even on both sides, making sure it fit.
Gotcha. Liking the footer. This is very like clean. Plus like this is all gritty on the right hand side of the footer, so it makes sense to make the left hand side gritty as well. Rounded corners, I think those are okay. Especially because we talked about it. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just thinking to myself. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. I feel like either of these are effective. It just like depends like which way we're going, right? Like click on it or like a form. Question kind of for everyone. Link text. Should we make that like the standard blue or should we use our color scheme and make it green? Or is that confusing?
I'd say green.
Um,
I think if they see the color in the underline, they know it's a link.
I would second that one, but I guess our audience also isn't like old people that don't know how to use a computer as well. Well, I take that back. For partners,
Yeah, I was gonna say partners could be pretty anything.
yeah.
we may want to
Um,
play it safe with that.
I think blue is fine for any text links. Green, we can just keep the primary and secondary buttons.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
It's a little inconsistent, but I think whatever we lose out on consistency, we gain with adoption.
And plus that's a standard thing.
You guys
So
could in your I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but in your like user design testing unit test, I don't know how you guys test, but you could also figure out if people can find out that the green link works.
Yeah, that would be something we'd do regardless.
Yep.
Unit test. That's a way to refer
I'm
to
trying
it.
to fix it back, and I don't think I grabbed the right color.
So I made some modifications. Priscilla, sorry for hijacking once again, but all I did was just play around with the spacing a bit. Everything's pretty much the same. Compress the body to the title just to keep it grouped together, and just spaced everything on a base of 6, and moved everything up a bit more to the nav bar. That's all there really is. So there's a visual comparison for both, just in case people want to compare.
Oh, I see.
Oh, let me remove this. Sorry, I was just playing around with the rulers.
No, I'm like ruler crazy person too. So
I also aligned the form.
I don't see rulers.
Oh, click.
You just got rid of them, I thought.
If you don't have them on, go to your hamburger, and then go to view, and then click on rulers, or press Shift R. Either one works. And then you'll see the ruler grid pop out, and you can drag rulers out.
Oh.
Yay! I'm like so new to Figma. I have no idea.
Are you a Sketch?
Yes.
Yes.
Sketch and XD.
Sketch was my original like love, and then like I have to use Acture at work, and I know Acture really well, which is like no one uses. And then now I'm like Figma, yay, because that's what we're switching to at work. So it's like
Figma is Sketch is still the top beast, but I think Figma is doing a great job at catching up, and if anything, providing decent competition.
Agree.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
A lot of companies I looked into and interviewed at, everyone's like, "Oh, we're switching over to Figma soon." And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
great."
But it's funny too because XD is also catching up now, so it's
XD will always be the ugly little sister to me. I'm sorry, it's just
it's actually it's made the most improvements in the time it's been out compared to the other two. Granted that the other two kind of had the time to make mistakes and XD just learned from them, but having Adobe behind them is just making them zoom so fast.
All right.
I have to use XD. Ugh.
I think your desktop one is pretty solid. Yeah, just because I goofed with it. The link text blue. Honestly, this is like this is like high fidelity. I'm like, this is good, but
What are you
so yeah,
doing?
that one's
Button.
fine. What
Same.
color
Are
is
we
it?
just gonna have like when this stuff is entered, is it just gonna automatically email for them, or is it just gonna go to a database where we store the message and the name? And I don't know how to.
AWS can set it up so it can just send an email.
Okay, that's sweet.
The only thing I just thought of is like a submitted state, like after
Yeah.
you hit send, what it looks like. We're gonna need that mocked up.
Maybe a happy Mr. Bean. Let's celebrate.
With like a
That is
toast or
hilarious.
something.
Yeah, have him holding the coffee mug up in the air like, ooh.
Yeah, I was thinking like a dialogue or a toast or something.
Mr. Bean has a thought bubble.
Or that whole right hand corner or right hand side changes to like
Uh,
something.
We
Go
could
ahead.
also do a quick one where the page refreshes and then we just have a status notification at the bottom here that says message sent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just start getting into this. For next week, Priscilla, that's gonna be something. That
Yep.
we should do.
Success page.
All right, looking at mobile
Looks
because
good, though.
mobile is life. Contact us, interested, email.
Could work on that spacing again.
Yeah. Like the giant send button. These guys, I like that they're full width. That's good. It's effective. Trying to think what I did on
Is that
mobile
Mr.
last
Bean gonna be like a PNG or a SVG?
Oh, you used the green P for the button. Sorry, I was just talking to myself again. It's a bad habit.
I almost want to put like Mr. Bean at the top, although I'm like, he's not the most important, but I'm like, he's so visual that I don't want to lose him. I don't know.
Mr. Bean.
Wait, what's the question?
I'm trying to think how to change up the mobile site version.
So that Mr. Bean is more on the top of the.
So he's more noticed.
Yes, I think top works better. Yeah, I'd agree.
Contact us.
You
What
know,
doodly.
Daniel made Mr. Bean.
Yeah, he did.
Is it gonna be is it possible to make it an SVG just to have it scalable?
Yep, so you can export it as an SVG from here.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So if you, for any devs watching, and if you don't know how to export, click on the whatever asset you want to export. So I'm clicking on this, and then it'll pop up in the bottom right side, bottom right section of the sidebar. Click on export, and then you can choose the file type or the scale.
Ooh.
And how you want to export it.
Okay.
Okay. I just doodled something, but I'm not gonna share it because I feel like I can just talk it and it'll be understood. I think the only thing to like change mobile is doing contact us, then the picture of Mr. Bean, and then the text right here, like all the rest of the text after.
I feel like if we were gonna do that, should we have Mr. Bean be smaller in the view, or do you think this size would be fine now?
He might need to be a little. I would play with size.
Yeah. I would shrink him a little.
Yeah. Other
Also,
than that, mobile's effective. It's just we lose him a little bit.
with the mobile footer, would we want resources community organization to be like drop down when clicked, like those things would show, or would it? If we're doing this one, I guess.
I think I prefer this one because it's scrolly.
Would you want it to be like a drop down, like not like not like a, I can't remember the word for it, the certain form, but like kind of an accordion, I guess.
Oh. I don't know if that's necessary functionality.
I would
Um,
just leave it only because it doesn't make any sense to hide it.
mhm.
Yeah, I can see
And it's
that.
like
agree.
an extra
Mhm.
step, like clicking.
I guess if it was already a drop down, then yeah.
Mhm.
But since it's yeah, that makes sense.
I'd say comparing these two footers, we should probably go with the left one.
Yeah, just for the clicking would be harder on mobile with that such
Mhm.
consolidation on the right.
Yeah, I try to avoid two columns on mobile as much as I can.
Mhm.
So I would say this is probably what we should go with, something like this one.
Well, we wouldn't even need the footer links because everything will be in the hamburger anyways,
Oh yeah.
right? So mobile is a bit more navigation friendly for that. They wouldn't even have to move up that much. So we could just
Put in the hamburger.
yeah, just put it in the like it would be in the hamburger anyways, right? Because these are all the nav tabs anyways. But we could keep
Like this
Social?
social stuff.
Keep this and make it bigger.
oh, we could make this into a vertical list versus a
Oh yeah.
horizontal list. Yeah. And have it like, I don't know, expanded out or something. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Oh, like instead of having it as small buttons on horizontal, like in a grid system, just because it's very easy for misclicks, we could have it as a vertical list of all the social networks.
Okay. So
Yeah,
would
as
it be
separate
like
buttons.
Do we want
logo
the
and
hamburger
then
to be in the top left or the top right? I guess it's kind of late to ask that.
Top
Uh,
right for web.
To
When
answer
we switch to
Priscilla's,
iOS, that might be different.
I think yeah.
sorry, Priscilla, to answer your question, it would be something like this, like
um
this format, just for this, I guess.
yeah,
But since we
Like-
already have all of this on the hamburger, we wouldn't need it.
like logo and then Twitter and then
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
I agree.
Facebook.
Yeah, more expanded
Otherwise,
buttons.
it's super bare. Mhm.
Yeah. We could also get rid of this. I don't know if we really need the divider for the mobile.
I agree.
I think it looks a bit more seamless without it.
Mhm.
But I like it otherwise. I think it's clean, short, concise, and sweet. Like it's to the
Cool.
point.
And then same thing with these bottom ones. I would play with putting Mr. Bean before the text, maybe smaller. Other than that, like it's well done. So it's just toying where to put this guy.
Yeah, it's hard to nitpick it because like everything is so precise and concise that there's really nothing else that I could personally say.
Yeah, it's like it's not like a super content heavy page, so
Yeah.
we only have so much to nitpick on. All right. So let's see. Meet the team is Raya. Did he? Oh wow, hello. He has a lot of stuff in here. Is he? He's not here. Do we skip over it? Do we still go over it? We could probably go over it.
We can still talk over it. I think we all were there for the last conversation, right? So I think
Yeah.
we can kind of infer, and then when he comes back on, we'll just get the gist from him. But
I'm thinking for people circles, just because we talked about that and having that distinction between people and a project
yeah,
is important.
yeah. I will say though, if we are going with circles for people, just in the interest of not making it too hybrid, going back to the contact page, the send button should be a rectangular button as well. Because otherwise we have too much
Difference.
too many hybrid forms because we
That
have
design salad.
yeah. Because the cards are rectangular, the buttons are rectangular, but then if we introduce rounded buttons, that just completely balloons it out.
And I feel like the tags, whatever I end up making, will be the tags used.
Yeah.
Those can
Yeah.
be versatile.
Tags make sense being rounded though. We just don't want to add more to the. So yeah, absolutely, you're right.
I'm thinking appearance wise. This I think the cards with a little bit of shading behind them. I'm kind of drawn to those because you can clearly see what is related to what thing. Although if on this view where you don't have the shading behind, I feel like if there's more space between these elements, we could get away with that too.
Yeah, I'm more drawn to the one, this one, meet the
open
team
one?
too. Yeah, but the tags are obviously, like we discussed on the projects page, that's going to be
different.
that's going to be interesting to work out. So I guess that's an element for both pages, the project and the team, since they both have tags. But if we can work that out, then I like this because it's like you said, open and it's a bit more minimalist like our other pages.
We would just need more spacing, I think, between these items. Can you
Yeah.
deselect so you can see them?
Let me try 90 and oh, what did I do? Oh, not that.
Look at you, you're
Let's-
doing like magic tricks over there.
Let's yeah, there we go. That's a bit more spaced out.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying to imagine the tags looking different. Okay, yeah, if the tags are different and maybe this job title is smaller, and this is for sure bold, that needs to be like bold, I think.
4 people with the same name.
Yes. Be bold. I feel like this needs
The
to be
pictures
bold.
feel small.
Yeah, they're let's try
So it's really just like the idea is perfect. It's just like the
Hierarchy
use
is
of
just-
size is a little bit off.
yeah, it's all like pixel perfection stuff.
Yeah.
It's-
But
And like
other
you,
than yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say yeah, like the text hierarchy for the name itself too.
I'll give him the time in the video to go watch this, so he'll know his comments.
Perfect. I don't want to like mess this personal one up that he made, but if we could
Okay,
put
yeah,
it in
I'll undo my
This
changes.
is
yeah.
Chum,
We
right?
could put it somewhere else on this page though. Sorry, what?
This is Chum/Daniel, right?
No, this
is
is
Rhea.
Raya.
Sorry, my bad.
Did
many
the
names.
devs? Did you guys talk about that whole world? Oh
Map
wait,
thing.
Priscilla was in there, or whoever else was in there. So if you weren't there when I suggested this, I think it might just be you, Priscilla, because it was after the design meeting. But if you go to Shopify.ca and you go down all the way till you hit a globe, that's what I was kind of picturing when we were discussing that whole map all our team members around the world element, something
You want me to
interactive.
share the link?
Oh
yeah.
I
was
because
here
it's on the
when you
landing.
mentioned it.
Oh, okay, perfect. I didn't know if you were or not, but
I started on that, and it's ending up being more difficult than expected.
I'd imagine so. I think it's definitely a sub project in itself.
The whole rotating one?
Yeah.
Actually, Will, if you want to meet after this and chit chat about that, I have some questions React wise because I'm just not good enough at it yet.
Sorry, I was gone for a second, but sure, sounds good.
No worries.
Okay. Other than that, this image, imagining that it's like the map, and then imagining that this team members looks more like this one, except for what we described.
Yep.
With the hierarchy differences. I feel like it's getting there, and then again the spacing and everything too. Yeah, that's right. Anyone else have any more thoughts?
I think one thing to note for us designers is that with the inclusion of, are we calling him Mr. Bean?
Sure, we can call him that now.
Or let's keep. Yeah, okay, Mr. Bean works. With the inclusion of Mr. Bean and a mascot, we're diving into the realm of our designs becoming more personal and thematic, especially being more playful and less serious, less enterprise. So that would be something for us to, like, Daniel and I would put it into the Notion, but that would be something for us to consider moving forward, that our designs should be reflective of that tone as well. Just something that came into mind, because
I think, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Otherwise it's going to feel discontinuous. Like we have the visuals on some pages and this guy's running around calling people in the illustrations. It's very playful, and then other pages are super serious.
I agree with that, and I think that playful kind of personal vibe, especially with how Cleany is designed as well, really matches the One Leaf ideals, which are like community, very welcoming, but also like we are futuristic, we are modern, and I feel
Mhm.
like he reflects that fairly well. So
Mhm.
I think this gives Daniel a bit more work, but I think we might need to start including him on every single page or something.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, especially because we were in need of that visual design piece for a while now.
Mhm.
I could just see like little Easter eggs where like Mr. Bean like pops up in the corner somewhere on a page.
Me too. All right. So let's move on to Daniel's stuff. Where is his stuff at?
I think it's the
Um,
page not found. He just edited the question marks to be assistant, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where are we at? Where are we at? Page not found. Sorry.
Mhm.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
think
that
was
was
the
my
major
little
change.
correction, but I think it just matches everything better. I think this is the correct one. Yeah, that's the right one. Oh wait, they're both the same. Oh, I see it now. They're both the same image, just different views. Okay. That's Daniel's. Did he work on anything with you this week, Fardine? And then I think we should go into Notion pretty soon.
Yeah, so we didn't get to landing, unfortunately, just because I crashed after my exam and he had something to run off to, so our meeting kind of got postponed. But he did take the initiative to start the Notion, and I kind of reviewed everything he put in, and we are adding more to it this upcoming week and actually having the sit down. So if you're in the Notion, he got started with the
Does
design.
everyone have the link to Notion, first of all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Fardine, can you share the? I guess, or I could. I don't.
is it? I think it's Sabian pinned it on the
Okay,
Discord.
cool.
But let me see if I can get the link
Mhm.
just in case. Share. Copy page link. Where would you like me to post? I'll post it in core team.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
All right. Does everyone have it so Fardine can talk about it?
So the cool thing about Notion is that whenever someone's on an element, you can actually see who's on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. That's a good point. Oh yeah, I see you.
Yeah. So we got
Go ahead.
Daniel got started, and he's using atomic design as the basis. So if you're not too familiar with atomic design, I'll paste a link to it. It's basically just dividing it up into different categories called atoms, molecules, and so on. Where I lost the link to the Notion. So he put in the typography, very basic stuff. Logo font is the GeoSense Light, I think, right? And we've been using Assistant. Text sizes, I have to modify this because we have been using different ones, or at least I've been using different ones than what's stated here. I've been using 30 pixels for the body text, which is considerably larger than what this lists. But a lot of this is very similar. Like the 30 pixel scale still has a 28 and still has a 54, for example.
Alright,
We
so you just
also,
take that.
yeah, for the devs, for mobile, M's, I guess, for you guys, just because it wouldn't be the pixels themselves. Having the M's would adjust it for the viewport. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We'll put in a bit more for specification for this text size, but since that's less relevant, we didn't get to that. Going back, layout, he put in the spacing element 2, 6 pixels, and then some common spacing units. Standard padding is 24 pixels for buttons, for cards, so on. And max width for desktop is 1024. Breakpoints, he put those in as well. And colors is empty at the moment, but we're going to get started on that.
And I can help out with that too.
Yeah, so we're going to list which of the shades are also accessible. So for us designers, we know which ones to use. The thing is, some of them are graphically accessible and some of them are text accessible. So we can get away with using some of them for visual elements, and some of them we'd have to use explicitly for text.
Got it.
Yeah, I think graphical is 3-1, whereas text is at least a 4-1.
Thanks for like diving into that. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not familiar with Atomic, let me just paste the link for folks. I'm going to paste it on resources, so it's not conflicting with anything else. If anyone wants to read up on it. So yeah, that's it. It'll probably be more populated this week, and we'll definitely have another meeting for that. If anyone wants to join in, feel free to come into that meeting. We haven't had it scheduled yet, so once we do, we'll put it out for anyone who wants to jump in the call. Along with also modifying the design system, like it's just the two of us, but personally, I'd rather the whole team have input because the more voices and the more consensus we have, and the more, I guess, nitpicking as well, the stronger the system is. It shouldn't be one or two people deciding everything. So
Okay.
I'll try and jump in on that call.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I can get your availabilities, we can schedule around that, or we could just do it next weekend
Cool.
on the Saturday.
Yeah. I'm pretty good about like re-watching stuff too. Like I always rewatch the stream on Friday morning. So again, if I'm not available, like I can do that too. Okay, cool. That's all the designers. There's a slew of us.
Yes.
So let's start thinking about like next week and all that jazz. So, who do we talk about first? Friday, we talk about you first. So you had your landing pages.
Yep. So
next week.
I can touch base with Tina and Sabian for copy and loop in Daniel as well, so he knows what to do for visuals. And then just get the mobile done because I'm behind on that. But for the devs, you guys can get started on the skeleton. If we're all okay with this, then this is kind of the general layout for the desktop version, at least.
Okay, touch base with Tina, mobile. Got it. I'll go over the design system after.
I missed that skeleton part.
Hmm?
You said devs can start working on the skeleton for the landing page?
Yep. If the rest of the designers are kind of okay with everything, I'll clean up a bit more with spacing, but for the most part, like 95% of it is good to go. So you can start.
So with mobile on this, would it just like, I guess I can look at how Shopify did it. Yep. Just flex it down, kind of put the text under the images.
Yeah, so I'll make the mobile this coming week and get that out. But for the desktop, if there was anything you guys wanted to get started on, feel free to do that.
All right. Yeah, we try to have everything responsive out the gate. So, but we can always update.
So it's looking like next weekend, almost V1 will pretty much be done.
Yeah, I want to get to that other project too. So for me, I want to rush V1 out of the door.
Okay. So we can plan on, as far as deadlines go, Fardeen will have V1 done next Sunday. Yeah.
And then
cool.
I'm hoping 2 weeks after that, all the devs can have all the changes implemented.
And some of these will be done before others. So like Raya, because he wasn't here, I'm not expecting his to be done right away, sort of thing.
No, we can start on the rest.
All right, so that's Fardeen's. Yay. Mine. Okay, we did a lot of playing and a lot of changes. So for next week, toying with this card view in desktop and mobile. That'll be my sort of goal. Card on desktop and mobile. So like as far as V1 being done for next week, I don't think that'll be option.
No,
we're probably gonna want to talk about it.
If anything, I think you taking the most time is actually reasonable, just because active projects is the page, right? Like it's going to be where all the projects are hosted, and it's very relevant to oneleifs. I think it's a higher priority, and we'd want to make sure that it's done well.
So I can, good point. So I can play with the cards, desktop, mobile, and then my other thing would be cleaning up this view of the detail page as well. So instead of having stuff like perfectly there, my goal is like as far as like next Sunday would be is having that card view high fidelity for both desktop mobile and then have an updated detail page view.
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right, perfect. Let me write stuff down real quick, sorry. All right. Then we had Priscilla go after, and she is contact page. So looking at this, Priscilla is gonna work on moving Mr. Bean and mobile up to the top.
Yep.
So
Editing out
that's
the
one.
bottom nav.
Yeah, bottom nav too.
And then changing up the button and working up a success page or what it would look like for now.
I would say submit success, and then do we want to make a submit error page as well if it didn't send properly?
Or you can just do validation and just put like a red line under it and just say you didn't put in a valid email. That's the only reason it wouldn't be successful.
Oh, got it.
I guess I mean,
connection or
I just ran into
server
an
issue.
error sending an email to a company because the email they had on the back end wasn't like the right email anymore. So that's another validation error. But that would like be a 500 or maybe even a 404, I guess.
Okay, so in layman's terms.
Oh,
So that
yeah, there'd just be another error.
okay. So some sort of it's been submitted view and then a view of like either the whole box itself, like the input box turns red and it's like invalid email or something like that.
I would just
Is
like
that
have
what
a
you're thinking?
like a message or a toast, something simple. I don't think you really need to.
Or like a little mini red text on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so just play with error and submit.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You have ideas.
Otherwise, I'd say I mean, for me, the contact mobile and like the skeleton of that can start getting worked on if everybody is cool with that.
Yep.
Which page?
The contact, the mobile and desktop look good to me, but I'm also just the dev.
I would say desktop's done. Mobile, play with where you put Mr. Bean is the only thing.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we can just do
So
desktop.
I would say like, yeah, definitely for next week, like this desktop, or I guess these two desktop views will be V1 ready because the only thing being changed is literally that button.
So
Oh, we
the button
making
and, like,
it
the
square?
spacing. The spacing would look like this.
Oh, and the spacing,
Yeah.
which isn't difficult.
I do have to head out soon.
Okay.
Are there any other design / deadline thingies?
We can look at, okay, so for design system, let us know when you plan on making that meeting, and then in that meeting we can discuss more how we're gonna split up that work,
Yep.
basically. Okay, and like deadlines, we can discuss deadlines for design system in that meeting because that makes sense. So
Yep, sounds good.
okay, so if you have to head, that's fine. I'll try to wrap up here pretty soon.
All right.
Daniel, for next, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say I gotta run. It's been
Okay.
a slice. Have a great weekend, everyone.
See you, Vardy.
See you next week.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Weekend is over.
All right. Let's go over Raya's real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to finish up. Raya for next week is cleaning up like hierarchy, sizing, all that stuff. Because he wasn't here, I'm not going to say that it's going to be fully done, and I feel like we should have some discussion on what he's making next week. So that's what he'll be doing.
Yep.
And then Daniel, who wasn't here either, making an image for Fardine is one. Or sorry.
Are these community
Fardine.
features going to be projects, members, blog? Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's going to change from time to time, right? Or
I feel
is
like with discussion with Tina, we'll be able to know that answer
yeah,
better.
okay.
Okay, so Daniel can make an image for this.
And
Look into one for active projects too. I'm just
are we gonna have
writing down.
our supporters for a while? Or are we just going to have that one partner we have there? Or do we have to ask their permission to display them there for the journey?
We will have to, yes.
Okay, so active projects will need one. Landing page will need one. Placeholder or picture of Mr. Bean. Contact us already done. And then meet the team has the map thing, but also I feel like that one's more for discussion because Raya also wasn't here, so I can't say exactly what that should look like. So I don't know if that can be done yet. But eventually an image for the meet the team page. So I think for next week, he should focus on Fardine's image, landing page, any images he needs for that, and then if he has time after that, which I don't know, most likely yes, an image for active projects. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Other than that, talked about everything. Talked about design system. Forgot to talk about like switching to Notion for our Trello board. So, yeah, considering that. Fortunately, Fardine left and he's kind of been running Notion. So I guess use Trello still this week. And update your cards. And I'll go ahead and update them too. If not today, tomorrow. I'll definitely get to that.
Yep. Hmm.
All right. That is all I have. It's been an hour and a half, so I don't want to take up anyone's time more. Anything else that anybody wants to say or anything like that?
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Well, that was a good meeting.